So, hey everyone, this is Mike. Welcome to our channel. I'm here with Spencer Gray out of Spokane, Washington. How you doing, Spencer?
Hey, I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you got going on?
Yeah. So I'm a real estate flipper over here in Spokane, um, and the Grady area of Spokane as well. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now.
Okay. How'd you get started?
Um, how I got started, I was living in north of Seattle, and I just happened to get a phone. I was working in sales before I got into real estate, and I just happened to get a call from one of my relatives um, that was helping me find a property because I was interested in getting to flipping, and they were able to help me find one. My first deal, it was an off-market deal. So I went down to this property down in Centralia and was able to pick that up.
Okay. So, what type of flip with this is this? So, I have a course where I teach veterans how to do like a live-in flip. Meaning you can kind of take your time. You're not working with hard money. You're doing a traditional mortgage, 3% VA loan, maybe 0%. So how did that flip go? Well, like, was it intentionally a flip when you bought it?
It was, yeah. So I actually did not live there. So I still lived in Seattle, Linwood, just north of Seattle, and I just commuted back and forth to Centralia, back to Linwood. Um, but yeah, so it was originally a flip all the way through. It took me some time because that one I actually did most of the work myself.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but so that's how I was able to get started with, and I did use hard money in my first deal as well. But I did want to save a lot of money by just doing the work myself.
Okay,
That
so
first
you discovered this property off market. You purchased it with hard money,
hard money, yep.
and you did the renovations yourself.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
was a completely cosmetic flip. New
Oh,
flooring. We added a wall, painted. We changed all the fixtures, changed the doors, painted outside, landscaped. Um, New countertops, new cabinets. So it's pretty much all cosmetic work.
do you did you have everything you needed for the flip? If you don't mind me asking, how much did it cost? And like, did you have all of that up front, or you're still working your sales job at the time? I'm guessing, and obviously you get like paid over the holding period. You get paid in your W-2 job over the holding period of your flip. And so, did you have everything up front, and then you just kind of put it all down on the house, or like, did you pay for it as you went?
Yeah, so at that point I did not. I kind of paid for it as I went.
Hmm.
And so I broke up my project into three stages. I did my flooring, my wall out of the wall, and then painted first. And then I started, and then I don't remember the exact details of my phases, but yeah, so I basically planned I broke it into phases. That one I bought it for 65,000. I put right around $20,000 of work into it, and I sold that for 179.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, I personally never used hard money. Just in Hawaii, it's kind of a gamble. It's a lot of money up front for a flip, and I'm also active duty military, so I think that my time is just precious.
Yeah.
With like a property management business, and yeah, I've just got a lot going on. Not that I can't do it, not an excuse, but it's just not where my focus was. And then bringing high interest rates into it was just kind of like out of my range of comfort. So like this is your first flip. How did you convince a hard money lender to, I guess, let you get started on his dime?
Well, actually, so I had the deal in the works. I actually was able to convince the seller at the time to hold the papers on the house and basically do like a homeowner kind of
Owner
a
finance?
yeah, owner finance, yeah.
Okay.
So that was the original plan, and then she's like, well, the previous owner was like, the seller just didn't really know if that's quite the route she wanted to go moving forward. And so I was able to, so I was actually just looking on Google of different ways to finance a flip.
Mm.
And believe it or not, I was able to find this company. And, and then my realtor knew about the company, and was able to kind of explain to me how what they like to see, what they look for. And so I basically just showed them the deal, um, and they funded it.
Oh, okay. If I
Yeah.
show the deal, I'm gonna try to guess, and then you can let me know if I like hit the nail on the head or not. So if I show the deal, I'm assuming that you had a spreadsheet of some sort with your purchase price, your renovation costs, and your ARV. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
basically, they sent me an Excel spreadsheet breaking down each and every little remodel and how much it's going to cost.
Wait,
So,
wait,
for
wait.
example,
They sent it to you?
they sent me an Excel spreadsheet that's like pre-filled, and then I just basically just fill in the numbers.
Get out. The hard money lender?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And now I do my own Excel spreadsheets on budgeting, but yeah, that was really nice. So I was able to just pop in all the numbers from what things were going to cost me, and then um, they came down. I showed them the property. I had an inspection done on the property, and the inspection went well, and they basically liked the deal, and so they just were just game to go ahead and fund it.
Wow, that's way easier than I ever expected it to be. I'm super
Yeah,
traditional. I only do like VA or FHA loans. Hard money lenders,
yeah,
like just like the term hard money lender, I'm like, oh, like get away from me. I don't want to think about it. So that seems like super, super smooth. Huh.
smooth, very smooth. Yeah, it's a um, basically it took them 2 weeks to close. It is a more expensive style of loan to get.
Mm.
I think that my first loan was 10% interest, which is crazy, but it's 10% interest on basically you have an interest payment that's a interest payment, no principal. And so
Mhm.
that's basically your holding cost is your interest payment. So
Oh,
it's really not that expensive to get out hard money. It's a little more of an expensive route, but they also do give you the option of giving you money to fund the fix up as well.
wow. Okay, so I mean, if you find a deal, you can generally find someone willing to lend you the money on it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Finding the money's easy. Yeah.
And so you said you bought it for around 60 and you sold it for 175?
Yes. So I bought it for 65, 20 into it, and then sold it for 179.
179. How much of the how was your split with the hard money lender?
No split. So my only split would have been their loan fee, which was $5,000, and then my interest payment, which on that property was just right around 850, I believe. Um, so when I went to sell and I received my seller's proceeds, there wasn't any split.
Okay, so you paid the 5 grand fee just to like use the lender, and then you paid the monthly interest over the holding period, which is what, like 4 or 5, 6 months?
Yeah, it was the first one took me a while. It was 7 months.
7 months. Okay. So 7 months of interest payments plus 10% interest payments plus your 5 grand, and you get to keep everything from the sale.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Maybe I should start flipping. That sounds
yeah.
awesome. Oh man,
Yeah,
cool.
man, it was an awesome experience. And a lot of it is I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest, in the remodel. And so what I would do is I would just go on YouTube, and I was able to figure it all out, and it all turned out great.
This is like perfect example of one of my favorite phrases. What a time to be alive. Like a deal fell into my lap. I just went on YouTube and figured it out.
No kidding,
Everything
right?
worked out. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
that was your first one. Congratulations. I'm actually pretty inspired to do something similar. Um, how about you? Did you go into a flip directly after that?
Yeah, so after that I was like, holy smokes, why do I work? Why do I have a job? Why don't I just do this? So that my I was like, well, the market's competitive, so I want to kind of just continue to find off market deals.
Mhm.
And so I was able to get signs and advertise, basically that I buy homes in any condition, and I just stuck them out, and they worked really well. I got plenty of feedback, and just somebody was just done with their home, they wanted to move, and that was the second one I was able to grab. Um, and that one, that basically that one I didn't renovate. I just bought that, cleaned it up a little bit, and then resold it. So, and then I just continued to do that.
Okay. For
Yeah,
your sales, do you list them with an agent?
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
actually, so basically along the I-5 corridor. So Seattle's expensive,
Mhm.
and it's getting and the surrounding areas are getting super expensive as well. Well, people keep just moving up, moving down, moving down, moving down the I-5 corridor. Well, for example, that first one, that one is right along the I-5 corridor in Centralia,
Mhm.
and they were able to. That one sold, went pending, and then the individuals that liked it, they decided that they didn't like there was railroad tracks nearby, and so they decided, we don't want the railroad tracks. It's gonna be noisy. They backed out. I relisted it, and it resold in a day on the market.
Mhm.
Um, but every time I've listed something in the last 2.5 years, it's sold within the first week. Went pending in the first week.
Does that as an agent, that bothers me. Each property is different, but I know that if I get an offer right away, at asking or above, then maybe I listed it a little too low. Personally, I just want to do. This is pretty antithetical to investors, at least on the buy side. I'm trying to get the best price for my client, not the most logical price for the buyer, just the best price for my client. And
Yeah,
so, just that's just something I think about. Like, man, like if it got eaten up right away, I listed it too low. But there's like a fine line because if it's listed way too high, then no one's going to put in an offer. And if
yeah,
it's sitting on the market for too long, people are going to think, oh, well, there must be something wrong with it. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So nothing wrong with getting an offer right away. Usually get full price.
Yeah, actually, so I had that listed only at 160 and sold it for
Mhm.
179. So 20, just 19,000 over.
Okay.
Um, Everything that I've sold has went over asking, and that's right. That's kind of a it's tough because you want it to sell. You don't want to eat it. You don't want a holding cost to eat up your profit, but at the same time, you want to kind of maximize how much money you're going to get from the sale. It is
Makes
kind of
sense.
tough.
Yeah, because I mean, like another 5 grand after fees, really just it's not that much extra in your pocket. Like another 15 grand, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
I've got a condo in Honolulu that I I feel like well at the time. This is like last week. I was like, man, I can't get rid of this thing because the fees, especially after refinance, the fees incurred selling it. Even though I'm an agent, I'm probably not going to do it myself. I'm just gonna I'll hire someone else to do it. Have another agent do it. Have my broker do it or something. Um, but I like might break even if I unload it after the fees. And I'm like, no way. I've had this thing
Uh,
since 2017. Like, what's going on? I made like a quick Instagram thing, but there's four main factors as to why the Honolulu condo market has been destroyed since 2017. I bought like right at the top. Big four things are Chinese citizens are no longer allowed to bring more than 50 grand out of the country per year. So we lost a
really?
lot of Chinese Yeah, that was in I think 18. So we lost a lot of Chinese buyers. There's like ways around it if you're savvy and sketchy. There's a package you can buy in Macau, basically like the Las Vegas over there. You buy this package, it's $1 million. They take out like 50 grand in fees or something. You pay in whatever the Chinese currency is, yuan, Chinese yuan, I think. Um, you can cash out in any currency you want. And so like that's textbook money laundering, right? So you buy this $1 million package in yuan and then you cash out in dollars and then you can put the dollars wherever you want. So that's a way to get out of it. Lots of Chinese citizens, I think, have dual citizenship in other countries, either the US or Canada. And so the Chinese buyers still exist, but we lost a lot of Chinese buyers. Um, Coronavirus, obviously. Why would you pay a maintenance fee, three, four, sometimes $1,000 a month, $4,000 a month for some of the luxury condos? Just a maintenance fee. You buy this place straight up cash, and you're paying 4 grand a month just to hold on to it. And you can argue those are okay or worth paying because you're paying for the elevator. You might be paying for like the pool. For some of the more expensive places, you might be paying for a doorman. Um, but if you're purchasing a home, you're not an investor, you just want a place to live in. Every like 425, $450, in expenses, either just on your personal balance sheet or in maintenance fees, every 425 bucks equates to $100,000 of purchasing power. So you can
Oh,
buy a $500,000 condo with a $800 maintenance fee, or you could buy a $700,000 single family home that has a lower maintenance fee. You understand, right? The numbers aren't exactly. You're never going to find a place in Hawaii with a $0 maintenance fee. There's always something, but um, it's like, man, like if I'm going to be cooped up during a pandemic, these things tend to happen. Maybe I should get a front yard or a backyard or something instead of being stuck in this condo with all these amenities that I can't use because they're closed because of COVID. Um, they used to, so that's the second thing, coronavirus. The third thing, sorry if I'm like rambling, I'm just like
oh no, no.
really passionate about my condo valuation in Honolulu, and this is why I started looking into other. That's why we're syndicating apartment buildings because like condo market in Hawaii is not cutting.
Sure.
The third reason is used to be able to Airbnb whatever you wanted. That stopped. I want to say early last year, early 2019, I believe, and for good reason. As a homeowner, it's like kind of annoying, but for renters, well, let's go back to homeowners. So you've got a place and you can rent it out. Market rent is 1,400 bucks a month, maybe 15. A similar place would rent out on Airbnb if you had it rented like 75% of the month would rent out for 23, 25, 100 bucks a month. And so it's like, duh, like I'm just going to Airbnb it. Even after the maintenance or even after the property management fee, it still makes more sense to put it on Airbnb. Well, that gets rid of, it kind of prices out the other renters, people who just like need a place to live, like to go to work, right? And so
Yeah,
there's still going to be people who are using your property. And so what ended up happening is people were pricing out their condos, like their studio condos, like mini apartments. Like I don't want to see a cap rate on a 400 square foot studio, but like that's exactly what was happening. And people were buying them. People were paying like over asking for these things. And so a law came out saying like you cannot Airbnb your property unless it's like there's this one district of Waikiki, not even all of Waikiki, like this one district of Waikiki, this one district on like the northern part of the island where Honolulu is. And if you already had a legit license, like a what do you call it, a bed and breakfast license, short-term rental license, something like that. If you already had a real one, then you're grandfathered in. Um, but that also stopped, I guess, like wildly, irresponsibly appreciating home prices in Honolulu. Um, and then the fourth thing is that there's this wild law. I have to look more into it, but there's this wild tax loophole in Japan that let you depreciate real estate overseas. And so we just had
really?
like, yeah, we had like, I'd say, um, I don't really have a number for this. A lot of, if you're in Hawaii for like more than a couple days, you'll understand that there are a lot of Japanese investors in Hawaii, especially in the 80s and the 90s. But that loophole closed last year. So it's been a couple months now. We're waiting to see what happens with the market when we lost a lot of Japanese investors. So yeah, things are changing faster than I thought.
Yeah, it
But at the
sounds
same
like it.
at the same time, home prices, single family home prices are getting like out of control. The average home price for a three-bedroom house is like 800K. It just went up again. Um, and so obviously people are getting priced out of single family homes. They have no choice but to go to a condo.
Sure.
So I comped my place out yesterday, and it's in a weird area. It's a nice high rise, but the comps around it are like walk ups. And so when I actually comped it out, I'm like, oh, maybe I did do okay. Like I was using like an automated evaluation system called RPR.
Okay.
If you have any realtor friends, or do you have a license?
I don't have a license myself. No.
Okay, you don't need one. But if you have any realtor friends, ask them if they have access to RPR. It's called Realtors Property Resource, and it's just a really cool way to bring up a little valuation sheet and automatically comp the properties. But from experience,
Okay.
it's not perfect, so they have to go and like manually edit it.
That's neat
Um,
though. That's really cool.
that's cool. Super cool tool. Um, what are you working on now?
So I've got a property actually just down the road, and it's 4 bed, 2 bath, 1,900 square feet. two detached two-car garage, flip property. I got it from a previous landlord back in March, and I think this was everywhere, but they did a eviction moratorium. Um, well, what happened was a lot of tenants kind of took advantage of that and stopped paying.
Oh yeah.
So Washington State, if as long as you're going to sell a property, then you can ask the tenants to move. And so the landlord was kind of done. These tenants weren't paying for several months, and
Mhm.
he wanted to sell the property. And so I was able to find it right on the market. Um, Luckily, I was able to pick that property up at a fairly decent price. And I'm adding. So the basement was already partially finished. I finished the whole thing, um, and there was a spare room to add an extra bathroom to add some value. So I was able to fit an extra bathroom downstairs as well.
So
Yeah.
so this property was on market because the owner was tired of it because the moratorium renters are paying. But the moratorium allows you to evict upon sale or upon purchase.
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa. Okay. I
Yeah.
wonder if there's like a really sneaky, unethical way around it, or like you sell it to your LLC or something. But like
Yeah,
if you
no
wanted to
kidding,
hold
right?
on to it, yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
isn't that an odd?
So
But
who
yeah,
who?
so
Oh, good.
but yeah, so it's kind of an odd little loophole with the eviction moratorium. I don't know if it's still going on right now or not. But it was. I know it was for a while, and so you've seen a lot of landlords kind of just done with their properties and we're like, well, we're just going to sell this thing, you know?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's super interesting because we had I just interviewed a guy. It's actually the video right before this one on my channel. I'll send it to you. But he's super against how the government is handling the moratoriums. Interesting guy, cool guy, Robert Slattery. And he's big on duplexes and two, three, fourplexes. Just easy residential mortgages that have a lot of the benefits of multifamily, and that's kind of my focus right now is multifamily. Um, do you have any duplexes or three or fourplexes pop up on your radar in your flipping journey?
I have. Yeah, actually, I have. So I went and looked. I actually had a fiveplex under contract, and I was just going to flip that property as well.
Okay.
Um, but I just couldn't. I had it right around. I had it tied up for 300,000. But this specific property, after the inspection, I found too many issues, especially with the foundation, to where it just didn't make sense at all.
Mhm.
And so I countered, and I wasn't able to get the seller to agree to a price that would make sense for myself.
Okay.
Um, but that's probably the biggest property that I've kind of had my hands on,
Mhm.
because typically I do single family homes, just typically residential homes.
Okay. Do you have any so what he is promoting and I promote too, maybe not in Hawaii. I've never seen a duplex for less than 800K in Hawaii, and it was not a nice duplex. It was like BFE, and it was basically a trailer. And it was literally two trailers on a piece of land, and I think it was listed at 8 and it's sold for like 790. This is
Oh
like
my.
a couple months ago, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But it is tropical island paradise. And so, luckily, I'm getting sent to Connecticut for a while, and I think I can get a duplex because I'm still looking for a way to do it with like an FHA loan. Because I don't want all of my money tied up in something residential when I'm trying to do commercial. Um, would you consider flipping a like a larger property, like a 20 or a 30 unit, and maybe not a flip, maybe a holding period like 3, 5 years?
Oh,
Is that something you
absolutely.
consider? Okay. Yeah, no, we got to keep in contact because that's what the focus of like this whole channel is getting a. We're looking at anywhere from five is probably kind of small, but anywhere from like 10 to 50 units.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, we're syndicating the money for that, and then we're looking for a value add play, similar to what you're doing, but just the metrics are really interesting. So if you have, let's say you have 10 units, the price of a commercial property is generally based off of the numbers. versus, I guess, the surrounding comps. Yes, we still use comps, but you can increase the value by 10 grand or 12 grand. If you change the rent of each property by 100, just raise it $100 and you've got $100 on those 10 properties times 12. And because the cap rate is figured out by using the annual income of the property, you just increase the income by raising the rents just $100 on each unit. And so if you can raise the rent $100 on each unit and you can like lower the expenses of running the property down by a little bit, it's really easy. Easy is subjective, but it's theoretically very easy to change the value of the property and thus increase the return for the investors. So we're super excited about this. Um,
Oh, cool.
it's just a lot of paperwork. It's totally legit. I mean, it's the syndication is really a securities offering, and that's really, no one's business. No one really cares uh, that you're offering securities unless something goes wrong. And so I've heard of people doing like a syndication, and it was literally like a piece of paper they found at like Staples, like an agreement. Um, but yeah, when you're doing this type of offering, it's literally like if something goes wrong, like the SEC like comes and talks to you. So
Yeah,
um, we actually I think it's coming up next week. Got another appointment with our attorney, and yeah, we're just getting everything set up, and then yeah, no, we'll let you know when we start offering. And if you've got any properties, definitely let us know. if something
sure.
pops up, you're just like, man, like I'm really not in the mood for a 20 unit. I'm in the mood for a 20 unit for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I'll send them your way.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll definitely send them your way. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, what do you think your superpower is?
My superpower, I think, is staying positive. To be honest,
Okay.
and I relate to that in terms of business. When you're flipping a property, not everything's going to go right. Um, you're going to have issues, and most of the time, not all the time, but you're going to run into issues that are unforeseen. Um, but just staying positive, and then also because I feel like if you're negative, I feel like if you're stressed, I feel like it's hard to be creative and find solutions. So, for example, my last property or my current property I'm working on now, um, we got all the drywall up, we textured, we painted, and then we were installing sinks upstairs in the bathroom. And one of the sinks fittings was I don't know what happened with the contractor doing it, but anyways, it leaked through the downstairs and then ruined a bunch of drywall and walls and everything. Um, but if I was like negative, like, oh man, I feel like it would have been a lot harder situation to handle versus just throw up some dry it out, throw up some drywall, fix that fitting, and we'll call it good. So I just feel like that's probably my superpower that does benefit me in a lot of ways in flipping houses.
Oh, okay. I uh I think I can resonate with that. Like I'm generally pretty positive about everything. I'm also like realistic, so they're just like, hey, like what's wrong? Like that's not like a really positive way of looking at, for example, like an investment. Just like, well, I'm trying to be optimistic about it, but like I don't see like how this could work out. Like if you can show me like the numbers, then let me know. But I think also just being in a situation where I guess things are set in one way, like in Honolulu, like duplexes. And I think because things are extremely expensive in Honolulu, that yes, I'm optimistic, but I just never thought of hard money lenders as like a good idea.
Sure.
But yeah, now that I know that, because I'm a property manager, we do renovations all the time. And just to know that the hard money lender pretty much did all the work for you, all the legwork for you, just kind of, not that you didn't do very much, but I mean, it was relatively simple. Like, oh, maybe I should start looking at that. There's hard money lenders in every state, and I've seen them in Honolulu. But yeah, I'll definitely take another look at them. Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just kind of they are expensive, but if you can find one that doesn't want to split and they just will do like an interest um, sort of payment or
Mhm.
something like that, then you're going to save a lot of money. But
Okay.
they're really easy to deal with. And then once you have a relationship with them, it's pretty much now I just call them and I explain the deal, and obviously they come out and they do their appraisal. but it's really easy to deal with them. I love the companies that I work with.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, is there a way that I or my viewers can provide value to you? Anywhere I can send them?
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone knows, sees any properties that they don't, just like we were talking about earlier, any single family properties that they want to pass on, that they think there's some equity in, send them on over. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, I think that that's probably, yeah, I would say so. Or I mean, even some sort of real estate knowledge that I don't know yet as well.
Okay. What type of things are you looking for? Or what type of
Um,
knowledge are you looking for?
so for myself, I'm really talented at flipping houses, although I am going to be moving into the rental sector here soon. And that's something that I do need to expand my knowledge on.
Okay. Yeah, landlord tenant law, landlord tenant code, and I mean, if you want to do hands-on property management, then great. Um, but if not, and then obviously, I think the best way to do it is to have a professional. With anything, is to have a professional starting off, and that would be my recommendation: is to hire a property manager just for the first one or two, and just kind of like if you've got time, like just hang out in their back pocket. Like, hey, like how do you do this? Like, hey, if I wanted to do this, like what would I do? And then I don't think that there's a reason to be cagey about things like that. Like if, for example, like if you were my client, if you had a property in Honolulu, and you wanted to know how I did something, I would just tell you.
Yeah.
Is it a trade secret? Like, sure, but maybe you just have to find the right property manager who's more, I guess, long-term focused on, yeah, it just depend on your goals. If like their goals are to keep you as a client then forever, then they're probably not going to want to talk to you. They're going to worry that you're micromanaging. But if you found someone who is just investor focused and you just wanted to share the knowledge, because I mean, like if you were a client of mine in Honolulu, maybe you could be a partner one day. Maybe I could be a partner to you one day. There's no reason to, I guess, hide my day-to-day process of what I do, personally. That's how I feel. So yeah, I would recommend just like going through a few property managers, hopefully property managers that are also investors, um, and just see like, hey, like want to hang out,
Yeah.
and then just learn the process that way. Or shit, man, like buy him a drink. Um,
Yeah.
that always works for me. Doesn't have to be booze, but that helps. Just a coffee is fine.
Yeah.
Um, I always make time for the I try to keep my schedule, productive enough to where I don't have time to have my brain picked. But if it's a focused conversation like, "Hey, like, I'm a flipper, I'm the real deal, this is what I've been doing. I wanna learn more about property management." Um, they'll probably get the idea. He or she'll probably understand that, oh, they probably don't wanna be a property manager, but they're gonna have properties that need managing, and they'd be more than willing. The smart ones would be more than willing to entertain you because you'll probably become a pretty hefty client.
Sure. Awesome.
Alright,
Awesome.
man. Um, I don't know how to end these,